Well, there's so many coatings on the market, and I'm really excited to find out about this. Now, Mike Phillips with Autogeek.com, and I'm here with Tunch Goren. He's the founder of 3D, and he's introducing your brand new and your first ceramic coating to the market. And while a lot of people have already introduced a ceramic coating, you took your time, you did your research, and you're bringing a quality product out that everybody's going to love because it has everything they want in a coating. The long-lasting, the protection, and the shine. So let's talk about this product, Tunch.
Well, actually, you're right about that. We are a latecomer into this market, into ceramic coating, because initially we are much more focused in the compounds and polishes and detailing stuff. And as you know, so I said to myself, I don't want to come out just another product. And one thing that really set me back to do this for a long time was of the false claims in the market.
There's a lot of those.
Yes, and I said, you know what, there's no way I can make those claims, and because we are not a single product company.
Yeah.
We do about over 400 products, and we do private label, we do international sales, we sell to 54 countries, so we have too much stake to
You're a lot bigger than probably most people know.
Yes. So we've been around for 30 years, so I don't want to make claims that... So I was kind of very skeptical when I heard all these claims and people saying that it does this, it does that, it's scratch-free, doesn't scratch. Well, scratch is a very broad term.
Sure.
I mean, what is a scratch? A little hairline scratch with a microfiber scratch, or are we talking about the scratch somebody keyed your car in?
Sure, yeah.
So that's why I was like kind of staying away from it. Because prior to that, I had another concern that there was a lot of false claims in the market at the dealership level. They were selling these lifetime warranties, access, and there was not all the dealers, very small amount maybe.
The car won't even last the lifetime, so how can a coating? And one of the things that I've always noticed, and especially in the coating world, is the hype. Okay, and that turns people off.
Exactly.
Anybody that's got a brain in their head can see the hype for what it is. Now, there's a lot of people in the market that they believe the hype, and then they buy the products that are hyped up, and they're let down, and then they probably attribute all products are like that because this one didn't fail. So I like the fact that you didn't rush to market. You took some time to develop this product so it is actually the real deal.
Exactly, and also I had to satisfy ourselves first,
Sure.
So we had a product, we still have it. It's called NitroSeal, and that's a pretty much, amino functional silicone based, which kind of cross links on the car and does adhere and has a longevity, but it was never as coating.
Sure.
Forever, or for a long time. So that's why I was kind of staying away from it, but the pressure, I'm not kidding you. The pressure I got from my own distributors around the world,
Yes.
When are you going to come up with the coating? When are you going to come up with it? No, not yet, not yet. But in the meanwhile, I never told them that I was working on one.
Gotcha.
And it took me about 2 years, And then this is about 3 years ago. Took me 2 years. And I started putting this into the other overseas market. Not that I wanted to use them as a guinea pig, but they were putting me more pressure. So I sent to Dubai, to China, to Indonesia, to Europe, some cities, some countries, And then I started getting great feedback with, of course, some corrections or demands. And then, so I had to keep on making, then I had to send more. And to be quite honest, very funny, we didn't even have an application brochure in them, and I still kept on selling. So that gave me more encouragement. And then I said, you know what, I gotta take this more seriously to the next level. And finally, about, I would say a year ago, because in the meanwhile, of course, we have to compare
to the competitors.
Sure. Where we stand. So we found out that we are ahead of the curve, and we have really achieved certain milestones, what a coating should be. Then I was very happy. And now finally we released it, and it's at the last SEMA show, as you probably seen it when you were there as well. So the sales have gone up, of course, after that. Now we released it. Yeah.
So let me interject here. Some of the people watching this video may not know this, but not only are you the founder of 3D, you're also the head chemist.
Yes.
So when he's talking about working on this, he's not assigning this task to people under him. You're the guy in the laboratory coming up with the product.
Yes. Actually, what I do is I do the research first, you know, and then we do have, of course, chemists and lab technicians, especially in our powder section. We do have PhD people who have been in material science. But in the initial development stage, I play around with everything. You know, I just love to be in the lab.
That's your passion.
Yes. I mean, I live bi-coastal, as you know.
Yes.
And every time I go back to California, it's like my Christmas boxes. You know, I have all these goodies, all the samples coming around the world, you know, that I play around with it. And most of them goes into trash, but some of them we end up with good formulations. And then it's like a puzzle, you know. The more you work, the more you start getting clues. It opens up your mind more and more. So that's how I navigate and find these formulas.
Let's drill down and let's talk about this specific product, this new 3D ceramic paint coating. First of all, I like that you kept the name simple. There are so many companies out there that come up with what I use the term flowery or gimmicky names, you know, to try to invoke this idea into your head that somehow it's magical. But you just kept it simple. It's just 3D, great brand, your brand, ceramic paint coating. So let's talk about the product.
I don't even have a paint.
It's not even on there.
Ceramic coating.
And I love the green colors. For some reason, I'm thinking Green Lantern here or something.
Well, we like to stay green with our products, so that's another part of.
Is that this because it's your favorite color, or is there a tie-in to the automotive industry?
Tie into the being green, you know, in the chemicals.
You know, eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly.
Gotcha, and that's really important too.
Yeah, that's why we.
Okay, well, let's talk about this product then.
Okay, so first of all, what I would like to tell you is that to distinguish a ceramic coating from a fake coating, it's actually a very simple process, you know. So
show me how. We can use this.
I mean, you know, all you do is when you open up the bottle, you know, and then you put it on your desk or table like that.
Okay.
As you can see,
there's
a
see
puddle.
A little pile there.
Yeah. Leave it. Come back next day. If it's still wet and moving around, it's not a coating.
Wow.
It's not
there you
gonna
go.
Stay. Yeah, that's probably functional silicone fluid or resin or some sort, and it's not gonna be a good coating. And if it comes back and it's like as glossy as it is now and stays that way and it's very hard, you're on a good start, you know. So then you have to find out whether it's a good coating or a better coating, you know.
Gotcha.
But that's the other thing, that this doesn't take too much. You can be layered. We do recommend 2 coatings.
Okay.
Why? Because I don't know if many people know this. When you magnify the paint, it's very porous.
Exactly.
It doesn't look like it, but it is. And so the first layer kind of fills in the blanks, you know. I mean,
low areas.
Yes.
Yeah. I've always heard the term interstices, which is microscopic cracks and fissures.
Yes.
And you can't see with the naked eyes, but paint, when it's cold, it contracts. When it's hot, it expands. And at the atomic level or the submicron level, there's what are called interstices. And if you don't know how to spell it or say it, you wouldn't know how to look it up in a dictionary. But it's microscopic cracks and fissures, or a porosity, so to speak.
Porosity, yes. Okay. Actually, porosity is also very important. We'll talk about that later, maybe. So this one does go and fill in all the
voids.
The voids. And then by the time you finish the car and come back to the same spot, you're ready for another application anyway.
Sure.
And it doesn't take too long to do the second application.
Sure.
And then you get a really, really glossy, almost like you sprayed your car with a new clear coat.
Okay. Now, let me kind of ask some questions here, because I interface with a lot of people in different social media points, and I know what people are thinking. So, first of all, you say it can be layered. What is the waiting time before you can add the second application?
Because what happens is, first of all, you have to put a gap in between. That's your question, right?
Yep.
Why do you
Yep.
put that gap in
Yep.
between? Because the first layer kind of settles down a little bit and becomes, so to speak, sticky,
Okay.
stickier and harder,
Okay.
not completely cured.
Sure.
So if it's too wet, I mean, wet on wet, right away.
It just mixes with itself.
It will
Sure.
mix with itself, and it's not going to put a layer.
Yep,
You
gotcha.
need to have the first step,
Somewhat solidified.
yes.
Okay.
Then the second coat will adhere to it much better.
Gotcha.
Of course, you can leave the first coat, come back and do the next day as well.
Mm-hmm.
But from our testings that we have found that if the first layer is not completely hard, the second layer goes on very nicely, and it creates a much deeper gloss,
Sure.
And that's what layering is all about,
Yeah, and I know from my limited experience working in the fiberglass industry, when you're building up, say, a boat hull and you're putting the gel coat, after you lay down one layer of gel coat, you want a little bit of a drying time for it to
Exactly.
solidify, but you still want it to be sticky so the next one can actually adhere to it.
Much better.
And there's a chemical compatibility there versus if it completely dries, you'd actually have to go in and actually scuff it up
Scuff it,
again
yes.
to get the next layer to stick, and that would waste a lot of time. So there's a balance there between waiting too long and too little to get the best benefits of the product itself as far as adhesion and appearance and thickness, the layer itself.
So we think like the going around the car and coming back is enough time for the second layer.
And here's what I'll tell you I like about that is if you're detailing for money, it gets really complicated if you have to put one layer on and then start waiting 2 hours, 3 hours, do anything like that. If you put one layer on and by the time you've done that, you can come back and start. That's where you're making money because you're going to be able to kick that car out and move on to the next car
Exactly.
or go home for the night.
Yeah.
One of the two.
One or the two.
Yeah.
So this product is like many other ceramic coatings out there. You have from the box you
Simple
get
block, yeah.
Yeah, simple block, and this side is spongy, as you know.
Yeah, so it helps it to contour the curves of the panels.
Exactly.
There is no such thing as a completely flat car.
No. And then when you wet it like you normally do
Sure.
other coatings, and then the reason we do cross hatching is like because we go this way once to make sure that we didn't miss any spot.
Yeah, it's all about uniform coverage.
Yeah,
In the old days when we wax the car, a lot of times the manufacturer will say, apply 2 coats, and and that's only because the average person doesn't have always the best skill level, and by putting 2 coats on, you pretty much ensure every part of that car got a coat of wax. If you have a higher skill level, then you could just put on one good coat, but do a good job of putting it on. So the crosshatch pattern is just to ensure uniform coverage.
Exactly.
And that means uniform protection, uniform longevity.
Right. So what the next thing to look at is which panel you're doing, whether it's the hood or the side panels or door, whatever. We still do that panel 2 by 2 sections because you don't want this to dry on the car.
Okay, so, and that's just a normal protocol. You take larger panels and break them up into smaller sections.
Exactly.
Things that are manageable. A lot of times what I would do is I use the natural edges or the body lines to divide up larger panels into smaller sections. It only makes sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You're right. So then we wipe it off right away.
Okay.
Within, really, literally within few seconds. It is that quick.
And
Not that the longer you leave it, it's harder to take it off. But people think like you should leave it longer. Not really.
I know. So that's something that's hard for the average person to wrap their mind around. If you put something on, what's happening is it's making an instantaneous bond to that surface. But there's a part of us, and it's only normal to think, if I put it on and now I wipe it off, I just wiped it off. That's because we're not chemists. We don't know what he knows. He knows that formula that you created, you've prepped it correctly, and that is made to bond instantaneously to that paint. So you wait 30, 40, maybe 50 seconds, wipe that panel, and move on to the next panel.
It's
and
like the super glue, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't leave that longer than it.
No.
Because it creates a covalent bond. Covalent bond is a chemistry term. It creates almost 2 things becomes 1.
Yes.
That's what it means, basically.
So there are a lot of ceramic coatings on the market. What separates yours from the rest? What makes it different?
Okay, there's few things. Number one, from the feedback that I'm getting, the gloss is excellent. It has a very superior gloss
That holds up over time.
over time. And our testings, I mean, there are some companies around being a couple of years and claiming 7 years longevity. You
Yeah,
know?
I see it.
I don't get that, you know,
Yeah.
but we did testings over 2 years, physically on brush car, you know, car washes with brushes. You know.
Strollomatics.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we've seen the results, and it's very durable, and the gloss is there. Environmentally, again, safe, and you cannot, it won't kill you when it won't.
Gotcha,
when
yes.
you breathe it, you know, it doesn't have this
The nasty solvents.
nasty solvent smell.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that rub out. You know, a lot of people make claims that, oh, scratch resistant.
Sure.
That's
You always see the guy taking the Bic lighter and doing this to the paint.
that's a
And nobody's
snake
ever
oil.
going to do that to their paint.
No.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's not even a true. You can do that with a wax, actually. You know, simple
Sure.
$10 wax. That same show. The reality is there's a croc meter test. You know, where it's an international ASTM test. You know that you can. We have that machine in our facility, so that's how we compared it. We paint a panel. Metal panel, and then half of it we do someone else's coating, and the other half we do our coating, and then there's a fabric that goes into this metal, and then there's a counter. It goes back and forth.
Okay.
And then let's say do the 300 times, 500 times, then
Sure.
you look at it, which side is worn out, you know,
Yeah.
then you know who's better.
A very
and worse.
simple test, but a very
Yeah.
visual test.
They do that in textiles, in leathers, you know, all around the world. So we check the rub out. The rub out is the actual wear and tear on the car, which is like the
You washing
You wash
or
it.
someone else washing it, the machine
mush
washing
wets,
it, drying towels.
drying towels. They
Sure.
all contribute to this
Oh, yeah.
damage. So for those reasons, we are 100% sure that it's really outperforming many, I wouldn't say all, but many ceramic coatings out there. When it comes to the scratch resistance, you know, the 9H and 10H, and I mean, people will go to 11H. Or
It's marketing terminology
Cap-
throughout there because it captures the uneducated's attention and it causes them to pull their wallet out and buy that when it's really just a hype or it's just a marketing claim.
I asked to many people, I mean, some of our classes we have also, like for our distributors, they keep asking me, what age? I mean, I said, do you know what 9H means? You know, a lot of people don't even know the test. As
Yep.
you know, it's a pencil
It's a
test.
pencil test.
And you run it on the car. But if you call your product scratch resistant,
Yeah,
as a company, you take a big
yeah,
false claim, you know, out there, because what is a scratch?
yeah.
Somebody knifing the car, would it be
And,
resistant?
and there's just too many variables, you know, and I type and I teach a lot of this, but one of the most basic things is that I tell people is, okay, it doesn't matter if you're a 3D fan or other brand fan, at some point you got to take a microfiber towel and wipe something off or a mitt and wash it. And if that thing's contaminated, then
Oh, yeah.
it's going to undo all your work. So to say something is scratch resistant, and then you have all these people out here around the world, and you don't know how much attention they pay to the towel or the mitt in their hand. They could drop it on the ground, pick it up, wipe your coating with it, and go, your coating didn't work, but it wasn't your coating. It was because they weren't paying attention to what they were touching the paint with it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I get a lot of questions, you know, say, how many years does
Yeah.
it last?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
That's a very, very broad question.
It's a huge variable.
Huge variable.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy who drives 10 miles a day from garage to garage in California versus somebody with all the salt in the streets
Yeah.
in Minnesota who drives 100 miles a day. A
Or
salesman.
sun. You know, something I point out to people because we live in a coastal town here is you have a lot of people like, say, friends and relatives or tourists come here and they go out and go fishing on a nice center console boat. They don't know like the pros around here to wear a long sleeve shirt. They go out in one day, they get, this happened to you, you get a
course, yeah.
horrific burn. Well, your car sits out there every single day getting that horrific burn. So that's a lot different to have a car
Plus
here
it's metal that it keeps
expanding.
and
So the variables is how is the car touched and how is it stored? And I know when I lived in California, a lot of my coworkers that were of a higher rank where I worked, when they drove to work, they got a parking garage, and I had to leave my car outside.
Yeah.
So like you say, they would park their car in their garage at home and come to work and park in their garage, and it's not exposed to anything. So how long something's going to last depends upon the environment it's exposed to, and as I always say, how it's touched.
And miles you put on the road.
How many miles you put on? Yeah.
If you're a salesman, you're just driving up and down.
So your approach then is, instead of making a big, bold, exaggerated claim, you keep it real world, and you take in those considerations and try to be honest with your customer base instead of, feed them what they want to hear, so to speak.
And there's one slogan, we put it on the ceramic coating brochures. It says, brand you trust. So if you buy, you'll know that you'll get a good quality ceramic coating. Now, when I introduce a new product, my salespeople are getting excited when they sell a lot. I don't get excited. I only get excited after the third order.
Okay.
If it's growing more.
Gotcha.
Because they will buy, my distributors will buy anything.
Yeah, anything.
If I come up with something new, they'll buy it tomorrow. And then boom, one pallet and two pallets goes all around the world. And then I don't hear from them much. They will still get rid of it because, they have enough customer base.
Sure.
But if they don't order the second time a little bit more and the third time a little bit more, then we know that is not a good product.
Yeah, it's repeat customers. It's satisfied customers buying it again for themselves and sharing it with their friends.
Right.
Yep.
So that's how we know if the product is good. And this has been tested. Actually, funny thing I would tell you about this, we got a lot of calls or emails, I would rather say, that my salespeople coming to me, hey, is this fake 3D? I say, why? Because it's in such and such a country. And they say that you don't have it in USA yet. How come it's in such and such a country? Because we didn't sell in USA at the time, And that's how I know. No, I said, no, it's not fake. Yeah. It's our product, blah, blah, blah.
I can see people thinking like that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the coating and the application and the benefits, the longevity, the slickness and the gloss, the scratch resistance.
I would say rub resistance.
Rub resistance. Oh, that's a better term. I like that. And before we get off that, and I forget, people ask me all the time about coatings, which ones to buy, and my blanket statement goes like this: pick a brand you trust. If you already like their compounds and their other products and they're an established brand, don't you think they introduced a coating that is going to meet their criteria, which means it's going to meet your criteria?
Right.
But let's talk about one here. Now this is important because before you put the coating on, you first got to prep the paint for the coating.
Oh yeah.
And even brand new cars usually need to be corrected from the dealership because the lot boys wash them.
Oh yeah.
So this is an amazing compound polish and wax or a compound polish. Yeah, because it's kind of a new category called a compound polish because it's as aggressive as you use the pad for, or even the tool for, to use the product. So if you have a finish that's in really bad shape, you could use one with an aggressive foam cutting pad or even a wool pad or a microfiber pad and great correction, but you could also switch over and use this with a soft foam polishing pad to finish out with it and perfect the paint before putting the coating on.
Exactly.
And then you're staying inside the 3D family, because I always like to teach people there's a synergistic chemical compatibility. If the guy that invented this also made this, that he knows what's in this, so he knows how to make that. Yeah. And that's called a synergistic chemical compatibility. You like that term?
I love it. Yeah. I
and that's why I've always been a system guy. So if I'm going to use this brand, I'm probably going to use everything in that brand, from the wash to the compound to the polish to the maintenance products. And if I'm going to use 3D, I'm going to want to stay inside that family.
Exactly. So like you said, if you don't have a good base, you won't get a good product out shine. If this was your base and had a lot of scratches, if you put a glass over it,
you're still going to see scratches. Yeah,
exactly. So now you have to get rid of that.
Yeah.
So what is also very advantageous for that? We sell this product, trust me, to other ceramic coating companies and the private label too. It's good to prep because you don't have any fillers. That's another thing.
Oh yeah, very important.
Very important. So no fillers, and there is no wax, no silicone, no nothing.
So it's really a dedicated paint correction product. It's
Purely.
just for is for removing defects and leaving a flat surface ready for the next step with no fillers. But here's a question, because I don't know this. After using this, a lot of compounds and polishes on the market, before you could go to the coating, you need to do the step called chemically stripping. Take some sort of solvent, wipe the surface to remove, just say, the polishing oils, the polishing agents, so you're down to a naked base of paint. Is that true for this, or could you wipe this off and go right to the coating?
Yes, you need to still use a wipe.
Okay, panel wipe.
Panel wipe. We have a new product came out.
Okay.
It's called 3D wipe.
Okay.
And it's not, a lot of people use a lot of isopropyl alcohol.
I'm not a big fan of that, but it's cheap, it's everywhere,
Yeah.
and people don't know about it. They don't know that if you get too strong of a solution of IPA in your paint, you leave it there, it'll actually wrinkle the paint.
Exactly.
There's just so much information about IPA out there.
Right.
So I'm glad you're here to clear it up.
Right. So we do use a little bit of it, but the balance in there is that it is a truly paint wipe, you know. Because why I don't like IPA totally is there's two reasons. Environmentally,
Okay.
it's not VOC compliant after a certain percentage anyway.
Sure.
And it's flammability. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So we're shipping a lot of stuff by UPS, air, and you don't want to have a hazard label on every product, and the cost of shipping will be tremendously
I have
high.
another reason that I don't like IPA is it's not a good lubricant.
No.
Look, what color is this car behind us?
Black.
Okay, so if you spend all your day perfecting that paint, and then you read somewhere on the internet to use IPA to chemically strip the paint, you go down to your local drugstore, you buy some, you're not even paying attention to the dilution, because you can buy it in 50, 70, and 90% dilution.
99, they even have some.
Pour that in a bottle, spray it on the car, and start wiping. It's not a good lubricant. I'll guarantee you're going to undo your work because you're going to start marring the paint.
Yes.
So let's talk about your product. How is it better than IPA?
Well, it has got some, I would say, surfactants. That is also, you don't want to put too much surfactant.
No.
Because you basically want to wipe everything off.
You want everything off, yeah.
If you put too much surfactant, you're kind of leaving some residue behind.
Behind, yes.
So I came up with a combination. I mean, been trying this quite a while, you know. And you know that one of the good ones are this product like Prepsol, you know, this totally
I got some in the back,
solvent-based.
yeah. It's a body shop tool.
Yeah, that's a good product too, but
it
it's
stinks.
Aerosol stinks, and you have to ship it, you know.
Yeah.
And there are some restrictions, and I'm not even sure about the ozone compliance or not. Maybe it is. I don't want to comment about that.
It's a very old school product.
Yeah. So then I said, no, we don't want to be, it's got to be water-based. And the water has to be really refined water, because, you know, water has got a lot of TDS in it, you know, total dissolved solids.
Junk.
Yeah, there's a lot of junk in the water too. So we use definitely reverse osmosis water, you know.
Yes.
And the rest of the products is a little bit proprietary surfactants, but very easy to wipe off. And how you determine a good wipe is also very easy. To test the product.
Share that, because I need to know.
So what you basically do is, let's say you polish a surface.
Okay,
you know.
got done using our one.
Yeah.
We wiped off the residue, but now we need to come back and do the secondary wipe.
Yes, exactly. If you initially, let's say, buff it with a wool pad, for example, you're going to have the wool swirls on it.
The hologram scratches, yeah.
Hologram scratches, which is fine. So if you wipe with our wipe, one section, you'll see a lot more scratches come back. And if you do another one, if it kind of doesn't give you that naked look, you know, then you know it's not a good wipe.
Gotcha.
You know? So, of course, once you progress into a finishing pad with one, no matter whose you use, you won't see any scratches come back. That's our specialty in the powder technology we have in this, which we can talk about that later.
The results you see are true, accurate results.
True
no
results.
fillers.
No fillers.
So, and that makes it easier to chemically strip because it's not leaving anything behind in the first place.
And the other thing about the wipe is that you don't need too much product. Because you know why? There's not too much fillers in here at all to wipe it off. The only reason we want to make sure to use a wipe is to guarantee that there is no residue left from even the very little amount solvents.
Yes.
they have oils. No matter how refined it is,
There you go.
there's some oils in it, you know?
Even a water-based product.
Even a water-based
Yeah,
product.
and
So
people
you-
don't understand that. You know, I see people talking all the time like they're chemists. This is a water-based product. Well, that doesn't mean there's nothing else in
In it,
there.
exactly.
Yes. So it means that it's water-based, and you can explain that better versus solvent-based. But and then kind of back to your point, the panel wipe is the key word is to ensure, just to ensure everything's removed from the surface, so this product, the coating, can make a proper bond to get the maximum performance out of the coating.
Exactly.
And now that you're introducing a panel wipe to go with the system, now you're able to stay inside the entire 3D system.
Exactly.
For more information on the brand new ceramic coating from 3D or any of the 3D products, go to Autogeek.com. And for more videos like these and how-tos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, one thing I want to say for you is you've got to leave this here for me because I'm put on my personal car.
All right, no problem.
I'll just take this.
Okay.
We'll see you.